mag-resign ka na. Noynoy, mag-resign ka na. Noynoy, mag-resign ka na. Noynoy, mag-resign ka na. Ang haba na ng listahan ng iyong mga kasalanan. Dahil inutil ka na nakakasuka, iniray sa buhay ng masa. Bakit kang presidente at pangulong pasista at pahama? Kompleto kapag wala ka. Dahil may isang bagay na mas masaya talaga. Pag nag-resign ka, Noynoy, mag-resign, nag-resign ka. Noynoy, mag-resign, nag-resign ka. Noynoy, mag-resign, dahil may isang bagay na mas masaya talaga. Pag nag-resign ka.
Aquino Resign established the People's Council for National Unity, Reform and Peace, Manifesto of the Noynoy Out Now movement. It is now clear that the January 25 Mama Sapano carnage was a result of President Aquino's failure of leadership. It was Aquino who approved Oplan Exodus, the top-secret PNP SAF operation that aimed to neutralize so-called high-value targets, but ended up with the death of at least 58 civilians, SAF and Moro combatants, and with the GPH-MILF peace negotiations run aground. As Chief Executive and Commander-in-Chief, Aquino grossly miscalculated the inherent risks and grave danger in sending nearly 400 fully armed government forces intruding into unfamiliar terrain under the control of the MILF, the BIFF, and other private armed groups. Aquino compounded this error several-fold by relying solely on his close and trusted associate, suspended PNP Chief Purisima, to supervise the entire operation in his behalf, contrary to law. Further, the decision of Aquino, Purisima, and SAF Director Napeñas to keep the operation top secret from the acting PNP chief, the AFP, the DND, and DILG heads broke the chain of command and responsibility and betrayed deep trust at the highest levels of the civilian and military hierarchy. As a principal in the GPH-MILF peace negotiations, Aquino showed his lack of trust in the MILF and a cavalier attitude in violating their ceasefire agreement and not coordinating with the MILF. Worse, it is now evident that Oplan Exodus was a US-initiated operation using the PNP SAF as cannon fodder in pursuing its global war on terror. Incontrovertible evidence and an increasing number of credible reports revealed that the FBI and the US Joint Special Operations Task Force Philippines, based in Zamboanga, played key roles in the inception, intelligence gathering, planning, training of SAF forces, implementation, monitoring, medical evacuation, and extraction of killed and wounded in Oplan Exodus.
There you go, upside down. All right, let's go. All right.
In allowing unwarranted US involvement and the employment of FBI-trained SAF commandos for Oplan Exodus, Aquino put a higher premium on supporting the US-led war on terror and complying with US dictates at the expense of national interest, contrary to his oath and duty as President of the Republic and in gross violation of national sovereignty. President Aquino keeps paying lip service to the search for truth while leading a grand cover-up. Aquino and his allies are blaming practically everyone, from the SAF, the AFP, the MILF, and the Bangsamoro, for something that happened because of his failed leadership.
Maraming wishful thinking si Napeñas as opposed to reality. Pero maliwanag sa akin, no, binola niya ako. Ngayon, ano ko responsibility ko at this point in time? May kasabihan fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. At wala akong balak na ma-fool me twice.
We say enough. The U.S. Aquino-led bloody Mama Sapano fiasco has punctuated the compelling need to end this disastrous presidency. Aquino must resign now.
Hindi po pwede na walang mananagot dito sa nangyari sa Mama Sapano. Kaya po ang sigaw natin ngayong araw, simple lang po, sinungaling, resign! Ulitin po natin, sinungaling! 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 Mga kababayan, mga kapatid, hindi rin po pwedeng sagasaan lang ang ating soberanya ng Pangulo at ng Estados Unidos. Alang-alang na naman sa kanilang gera laban sa terorismo.
We cannot afford another Mama Sapano blunder, another PDAF-DAP scheme, another MRT mishap, another disastrous response to natural calamities, a Zamboanga siege or Luneta hostage crisis. We cannot sit by while poverty and joblessness worsens despite glowing growth rates. Criminality engulfs our communities, and our public assets and national patrimony are being sold down the river. But more than this, we call for Aquino's resignation in order to put in place a new government that better responds to the people's clamor for political, economic, and social reforms. For it cannot be business as usual.
Baka na mag-resign ka na. Yun po ang gusto ko. Gusto ng mga mamamayan. Gusto namin lahat. Bumaba ka na, Noynoy. Nananawagan po kaming lahat sa iyo. Maraming salamat po.
In place of the Aquino regime, we call for the creation of a People's Council for National Unity, Reforms and Peace that will lead the transition to a new and better government. It will be formed through a democratic process from the wide array of organizations, groups and individuals involved in the movement to compel Aquino's resignation. Its members will be patriotic Filipinos with a track record of leadership in the people's movement for democratic reforms, with known probity, integrity, and independence.
Papalitan natin ang gobyerno ni Noynoy ng isang bagong gobyerno na ang tawag People's Transition Council, bubuin ng isang grupo ng mga leader.
We envision a People's Council that will rule for a short period of 1 to 2 years in order to undertake the following. Create a commission to investigate and prosecute those that are accountable for the Mama Sapano fiasco. Pave the way for clean and credible elections by putting in place much-needed reforms that would prevent electoral cheating and fraud, reduce patronage politics, and prohibit political dynasties. Abolish the pork barrel system and prosecute those responsible for the DAP and the PDAF scams. Ensure transparency through a freedom of information law and accountability through a whistleblowers protection law. Introduce key economic policies to ensure food sufficiency, land reform, national industrialization, higher incomes and basic social services for the poor and middle class. And review lopsided agreements such as the Visiting Forces Agreement and Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement. Earnestly pursue peace negotiations with the MILF and NDFP by honoring agreements and addressing the root causes of the armed conflicts.
Ang composition po ng aming ini-envision na People's Council ay ito ay bubuin ng mga leaders na may mahabang track record ng pakikibaka at pakikiisa sa mga paglaban ng mga mamayan para sa demokratikong interes, para sa katarungan, para sa human rights, social justice.
The people's efforts to force the removal of the Aquino regime and replace it with the transitory People's Council will necessarily be through the route of people power, or, more precisely, the power of the people. In this light, we call on the armed forces, police, and local authorities to respect and support the people's exercise of their sovereign will, a power which is itself enshrined in the Philippine Constitution. The time is now. We cannot wait for the 2016 elections wherein political dynasties, money, and a flawed automated electoral system decide our fate as a people. Tama na, palitan na, remove Aquino.